What if I told you there was an MLB player who physically couldn't miss a swing? A player who was so good that he made contact on pitches that seemed impossible to hit. Yes, this player is none other than Vladimir Guerrero. And to find out how he got 9 All-Star selections, an MVP award, and even a Hall of Fame induction with his genius swinging method, we need to go back to Nisao in the Dominican Republic. Growing up, Vlad came from humble beginnings, playing baseball with his brothers by using makeshift gloves out of cardboard and socks filled with plastic bags as baseballs. This is where he honed in on his playing ability, ultimately signing with the Montreal Expos in 1993 for $2,100. It wasn't much, but it was an opportunity, one which he did not waste. Over the next few seasons, he dominated the minor leagues, finally getting the call to the majors in late September of 1996. When he was called up, the Expos were in the midst of a hard-fought battle for the wild card, trailing the San Diego Padres by 1 game with 11 left to play. By bringing him up, they looked to secure their ticket into October, but despite his best efforts, the Expos lost 7 of their final 11, to miss out on the final day of the season. It was a disappointing finish to the year, but their top prospect showed off exactly what he was capable of in his 3rd game. Down 5-3 in the 9th, he brought them within 1 by sending his first major league home run off the foul pole in right field. On replay, the announcers had some words to say regarding the homer.
Good pitch out away from him. May not have been a strike, but he leaned out there and drilled it.
This was the first demonstration of Vlad's ability to hit anything and everything that came his way. Then the following year, when he received steady at-bats, he was criticized for being too aggressive at the plate. However, this scorn started to subside in 1998 as his offensive numbers skyrocketed. In 159 games, he posted 7.4 WAR, managed 82 extra base hits, a .324 average, and a .960 OPS, with perhaps his best game coming against the New York Yankees on June 11th. At this time, the Yankees stood tall at 46-13, over 20 games better than the Expos, despite not being at the halfway point in the season. Andy Pettitte looked to continue their winning ways and was cruising through the game, allowing just 4 base runners with no runs scored through 6 innings. That was until Vlad stepped up to the plate to start the 7th. At this point in the game, with New York up 5-0, their win probability soared to 96%. Yet Vlad refused to quit, once again employing his free-swinging approach with a reckless cut on a ball way outside the zone for strike 1, prompting this reaction from the commentators.
Well, the biggest here, Gary, he's hitting .308, right. And we know that he has not yet really learned the strike zone, still an undisciplined hitter.
Quite fitting that directly after they brought the hammer down on him, he responded by smacking a double over Chad Curtis's head in center field. Still, he would need all the help in the world to overcome this deficit. The next batter, Rondell White, sent a looper into right center just barely out of the reach of the diving glove of Curtis, allowing Vlad to advance to 3rd. Then, on an errant throw which bounced off the second baseman's glove, he was able to race home to finally erase the donut on the scoreboard. But the Expos wouldn't stop there. Jose Vidro sent a sacrifice fly to left field to score White. A couple batters later, Brad Fulmer sent a ground ball down the right field line, evading Tino Martinez at first base to score Chris Widger and Mark Rudzelanek to bring them within 1 and put the game-tying run at 3rd with a go-ahead at 2nd. At this moment, the momentum started to shift the Expos' way, and the Yankees tried their absolute best to minimize the damage. They intentionally walked FP Santangelo to put the force play on at any base, and struck out Scott Livingstone swinging on 3 pitches, bringing up the man who started the whole ordeal to have one final say in their big inning. Would he be able to cap off their rally with a go-ahead hit, or succumb to the pressure and allow the Yankees to escape the inning with a narrow lead? Up against Darren Holmes, he started off 2-0, a count he faced only 84 times in 98. But in those situations, his average rose to .373 and OPS over 1200. He was in the driver's seat and sent the 3rd pitch of the at-bat deep down the right field line, but foul. As he hit this ball, everyone in the stadium got to their seats, only to come up disappointed. Still, he had 2 strikes to work with, an opportunity which dwindled to 1 after a reckless hack at an upstairs breaking ball. This was it. The game was firmly in his hands.
The ball right center. The center fielder diving, can't get it. The tying run is home. The go-ahead run is home.
I just want you to take a look at this swing. Look at where he made contact with this pitch. It was nowhere close to where any player would even think about swinging, yet he did, and he was not only able to put the barrel on the ball, but also send it into the gap in right center to clear the bases, including himself as he was thrown out at third. But let's not talk about that. Instead, we should discuss how key he was for the Expos all season long, since offensively they didn't have much going for them. In fact, they only had one other player post an OPS plus figure above 103, and their total WAR from their position players equated to only 12.9. Vlad accounted for 7.4 of that figure. Without him, who knows how poorly that offense would have ranked or how many games they'd be able to win. So it comes as no surprise the Expos rewarded him with a 5-year $28 million extension to take him through his arbitration years, a deal which turned out to be very team friendly, especially in his first year under contract. By the All-Star break, he was hitting .293 with a .914 OPS, good enough for his first selection to the Midsummer Classic, in which he came up with a golden chance to put runs on the board with men on the corners. The only problem was he hit the ball to Omar Vizquel at shortstop, who neatly flipped the ball from his glove to get the force out at second. From 1993 to 2001, and again from 05 to 06, Vizquel was a recipient of the Gold Glove Award, so best not to hit the ball his way. Regardless, the All-Star game finally gave Vlad the spotlight, because in Montreal, they ranked amongst the lowest in attendance and had struggled to put together winning teams. Now he was being acknowledged for his impressive offensive prowess with the whole baseball world watching, and he only got better in the second half. Between July 27th to August 26th, he recorded a hit in each of his 31 games, the 10th longest streak in National League history and longest in MLB in 12 years. This stretch also raised his season average from 280 to 307 and OPS from 881 to 960. His streak did come to an end after going hitless against the Reds, but made up for it a day later by hitting the walk-off home run to deep left center field, a shot which soared miles over the wall. But when taking a look on the other side of the ball, Vlad was known to make many errors in the field, although his arm was something special. Take this play for example. After Carlos Baerga sent a ball into the corner in right field, Edgardo Alfonso scored to take the lead with Tyler Huntley also heading home. That was until Vlad's throw to the plate was inch perfect to get him out. What's even crazier is that it wasn't even his best throw of his career. That came on July 7th, 2001. But before we dive deep into it, let me ask you, are you a shorter guy that can't find comfortable and affordable clothes? Well, look no further than today's sponsor, Under 510 Clothing. Right now, if you click my link in the description, you get a $10 coupon to their website, where they have a wide selection of high quality garments for all us shorter guys out there. And with the holiday season coming up shortly, they are a perfect gift to give. They have pants with inseams that go all the way down to 26, whereas most companies only go to 30. Not to mention the shirts, which hug the arms but give plenty of room in the chest. And the best part of all, they will not burn a hole in your pocket. So check them out and lots more by clicking my link in the description to get $10 off your first order with them. Against the Toronto Blue Jays, this was their World Series. Both teams hadn't found success in quite some time, and being the only two teams north of the border, each regular season encounter had extra incentive to win. For that reason, his throw was even more special. After a high bounce, he threw the ball on the fly to throw out the sliding Castillo with time to spare. Special moments like this perfectly represented his impressive start to his career. During his 8 years in Montreal, he set numerous single-season records, won their Player of the Year 4 times, and became their all-time leader in average, homers, OPS, and many more, records that can never be broken. But after his contract expired following the 03 season, he needed a new home, so as you would expect, many teams were lined up to acquire his services. One of them being the Orioles. After back-to-back ALCS appearances in 96 and 97, they struggled to reach similar heights in the years following, with 0 seasons above 500. The Mets were in a similar boat. After losing to the Yankees in the 2000 World Series, their wins each year steadily decreased to 65. They desperately needed some pop out of right field, as they ranked 27th in the league in terms of homers in 03. Both these teams would have put Vlad's services to good work. However, he signed with the Los Angeles Angels for $71 million over 5 years. He chose them for a couple of reasons, one of them being their new owner Artie Moreno was also of Hispanic heritage, and the the other was due to their recent success. In 2002, they won 99 games, beat the Yankees in the divisional round, Twins in the championship, and then the Giants in the World Series. It was their first title in franchise history, but followed it up by missing the playoffs with 77 wins. Vlad's arrival, alongside key additions such as Bartolo Colon, Kelvin Escobar, and Jose Guillen, were set to bring the club back to playoff glory. During his first year in his new threads, he wasted no time making his mark, with numerous big performances in April, but none were as dominant as his game on June 2nd. In the bottom of the first, facing off against his former teammate Pedro Martinez, Vlad quickly got the Angels ahead with a 2-run shot to left field. But he wasn't done there. In the third, tied 2-2, he sent a double down the left field line to score David Eckstein and John Figgins. Then in the fourth, now down by 3, he clawed back at the deficit with a sac fly to right field. At this point, he was 2 for 2 with a homer, double, sac fly, and 5 RBIs, a career game for most players, but he took it a step further with his second homer of the night, a 3-run shot to put the Angels narrowly ahead by a run. And to put the icing on the cake, he drove in yet another run via a single to left field in the 7th, helping the Angels take the game 10-7. For Vlad, he finished the night 4 for 4 with 2 homers, a double, 2 runs scored, and 9 RBIs. He was unstoppable and continued to have games, well, not as good as this, but ones where he was as important, especially as the season started to wind down. After the 10-7 loss to Boston on August 31st, the calendar flipped to September, where the Angels were out of the playoff picture, down 3.5 games for the wild card and 3 for the division lead. This is where Vlad stepped it up a notch. For the month, he managed 41 hits, 18 of them going for extra bases, knocked in and scored 25 runs, and had a .363 average as well as an over 1100 OPS. Manager Mike Scioscia even mentioned how he was carrying the team on his back. But they weren't out of the water just yet. With 2 games left in the season, they were up 1 over the A's and were set to play them at the Coliseum. Win and they'd be crowned division champions. Lose and it would all come down to the final game of the year. For the A's, they started Barry Zito, hoping their Cy Young ace could prolong their season, while the announcers knew how much of a challenge Vlad would be.
Yeah, and Barry Zito gets the ball today. He is a guy that's got a Cy Young award and needs to contain Vladimir Guerrero with Cy Young caliber stuff this afternoon.
Well, many have tried on Vladdy. This week he's taken a different approach. He's taking more pitching, but there's no doubt this guy has the biggest strike zone in all of baseball. He can connect hard.
In his first 2 at-bats, Zito had his number. He got him to lift a tame fly ball to left field in the first, and then a slow grounder in the 4th, allowing their bats time to get on board via an Eric Chavez double to go ahead 2-0, a scoreline which was still intact for Vlad's 3rd at-bat against Zito in the 6th. For the season, his numbers jumped a considerable amount when facing a pitcher for the 3rd time in the game, including a 50-point bump in average and over 200 in OPS. With the tying run on first, he looked to knot the game up with 1 swing of the bat.
And he unloads into left center field. Caught, save back. Vladimir Guerrero ties it up.
Earlier in the game, the commentator mentioned his slower approach at the plate. He even took the first pitch he saw versus Zito in the first. But not this time. As shown by the graphic before he got to the plate, of his 272 homers to that point, 31.6% of them were on the first pitch, well above the league average of 17.8. But I digress, because the A's came storming right back in the bottom half of the inning, with Scudero singling home Damian Miller to restore their 2-run buffer. Then, after a scoreless 7th inning, the Angels' chances looked bleak, being given just a 15% likelihood of taking the game. That was until Zito finally exited the mound after 7 strong innings, only allowing the 2 runs off the Vlad homer. Besides that, he was as flawless as he could get, allowing nobody else to advance past first base. So with him gone, they got their rally caps on with a huge inning. Darren Erstad leveled up the score with a 2-run double to right field, giving the Angels the go-ahead run at second, with none other than Vladimir Guerrero looking to come through with another crucial hit. However, with a base open, he was given the free pass. A frustrating decision for Vlad to accept. He was their star player, and it was written in the stars for him to drive home the winning run to secure the AL West crown. Instead, Garrett Anderson got to play hero with a go-ahead ground ball barely evading the outstretched glove of Marco Scudero at second. Then, following a couple shutdown innings from Francisco Francisco Rodriguez and Troy Percival in the 9th, the Angels had capped off an incredible September comeback for their first division title since 1986. For Vlad, this also meant he would finally be playing baseball past game 162, with his first playoff encounter coming against the Boston Red Sox. They were looking to put an end to their 86-year-long curse of the Bambino, something they came so close to doing the previous year, but fell one game shy of the World Series after Aaron Boone's walk-off homer in Game 7 of the ALCS. It was poised to be a tough battle. During the regular season, they split their 8 games 4 apiece. Although in the divisional, it was far from close during the opening 2, with the Sox taking them both by a combined score of 17-6. Then in Game 3, it was looking likely they would finish the sweep, up 6-1 in the 7th. However, like the Angels' final game of the regular season, once starter Barry Zito was lifted, in this case Bronson Arroyo, they were able to fight their way back. Darren Erstad worked a hard-fought 7-pitch walk with the bases loaded to score their first run since the 4th inning, bringing Vlad up to the plate down by 4, but with the opportunity to do something special.
And Vladimir Guerrero coming up with the bases juiced 6-2.
He did it, Tony.
He did it.
Mike Scioscia created this opportunity for his possible MVP of the American League with one swing of the bat. As bad as things have been, offensively, defensively, you lost your starting pitcher in the 4th inning. He could be tied.
You could tell exactly what he was planning to do on that pitch. He knew he could keep the rally going with a single or double, but he was paid the big bucks in free agency. He was the front runner for MVP. This was his moment to shine.
He hits this ball a long way to right. Back it goes. Back, back, back. Gone! Tied up! A game that seemed so easy, so much of a foregone conclusion, is now tied. Out of nowhere have come the Angels. The silence deafening.
With the game seemingly so far out of reach, the Angels had tied it with a 5-run 7th inning, capped off by none other than Mr. Vladimir Guerrero, though he wouldn't be given another opportunity in the game. In the 9th, he was due up with a runner on 3rd and 1 out, only needing to lift the ball into the outfield to score the go-ahead run. Yet this time, he was intentionally walked. A decision most would have made, and worked perfectly in the Sox's favor, as Keith Folk was able to strike out the next 2 batters swinging to escape the jam, setting up David Ortiz in the 10th to do what he did best: hit a walk-off in the playoffs, ending Vlad's first taste of postseason baseball in heartbreak fashion. But having said that, he still took home his first MVP award for his regular season success. He had his 6th 30-homer 100 RBI campaign and hit .337. Without him, who knows where that Angel squad would have ended up, most likely far out of playoff discussion. So all that was left to do was regroup and try their luck again the following year. It definitely helped they had a lot of key players returning. However, the next few seasons wouldn't be all too different. In 05, after yet another dominant campaign by Vlad, the Angels won the Western Division far more comfortably by 7 games. Yet when it came time for the playoffs, he crashed out, hitting a mere 184 with a 428 OPS in 10 games. As you would expect, with their star hitter not performing, they were eliminated by the Chicago White Sox in the championship series. Then in 06, they missed the playoffs entirely, and in 07, they were swept by the Red Sox for the 2nd time in 3 years. Although Vlad did have something to cheer about during the regular season. At the All-Star Game festivities in San Francisco, he took part in the Home Run Derby, where he tore the seams off baseballs all afternoon long en route to becoming champion. But what made this even more memorable was achieving this title with his family in attendance, including a young boy named Vlad Jr., who 16 years later won the Home Run Derby himself, becoming the first father-son duo to achieve this feat. So with at least some sort of achievement that year, he set out to finally translate that into playoff glory in 08. This year also marked a new beginning for the Angels franchise. Bill Stoneman, their general manager, retired at the end of the 07 campaign, being replaced by Tony Reagans, who wasted no time trading shortstop Orlando Cabrera to the White Sox for pitcher John Garland, signed free agent outfielder Torrey Hunter to a multi-year deal, and in season acquired one of the best rental players on the market in Mark Teixeira. These guys paired perfectly with Vlad and helped capture the club's first 100-win season. But I feel like I'm starting to sound like a broken record. They lost to the Red Sox in the divisional series for the third time in 5 years. At this point for Angels fans, it was easy to grow tiresome of the same trend over and over and over again. Though they got their chance once more in 2009, facing off against the Sox in the divisional for the 4th time. It was beginning to feel like an annual tradition for the two clubs. For the Angels, not a good one. This time, however, they were the ones in control. They took Game 1 comfortably 5-0 and continued to shut down the Sox's bats, only allowing one in the following, setting them up to take the series at Fenway, but the Sox wouldn't be going down without a fight. They had shown time and time again their ability to claw their way back from difficult positions, and they were demonstrating this willpower in Game 3 as they took a 6-4 lead into the 9th inning. Then elite closer Jonathan Papelbon recorded the first 2 outs to make the game look even more bleak for the Angels. He even started off the 9-hole hitter Eric Ibar with an 0-2 count, although he couldn't get the job done as the shortstop was able to flip the lineup over with a single to center field. Then leadoff man Sean Figgins worked a walk on 7 pitches, and Bobby Abreu chiseled away at the Sox's lead with a double off the monster to score Ibar, with him and Figgins stopping at 2nd and 3rd respectively. Now it was up to Torrey Hunter, but instead of facing him, they gave him the free pass to face Vlad. But I won't sit here and say they did this because they were afraid of him. By giving Abreu first base, it put the force play on all around. Most managers would have gone with this decision regardless of who was up next. For Vlad though, it was impossible not to feel a chip on his shoulder. With this in mind, he stepped up to the plate looking to do damage.
Guerrero swings and lines it into center field. It's in for a hit. From third base comes Figgins to tie the score. Here comes Abreu, and the Angels will take the lead.
He may not have had an impressive regular season. In fact, it was his worst since he became a starter 13 years prior. But he made up for it and then some with a clutch 2-out hit, raising the Angels' win probability by an astounding 58 points with just one swing of the bat. Sure enough, less than an hour later, they had done it. For the first time in postseason history, they beat the Red Sox after numerous eliminations. On top of this, his game-winning hit finally started to wake up his bat, as he went on to have an elite championship series against the New York Yankees, knocking in 5 runs with a .370 average and .986 OPS in 6 games. However, the Yankees' elite bats and arms were too much for them, ending not only their season, but also his tenure in LA. His 5 years in the City of Angels was filled with many ups and downs. On one side, he had elite regular season numbers, which included being awarded MVP in 2004. It's a great possibility without him, they wouldn't have made the playoffs as frequently as they did. Yet, when it came time for postseason action, he struggled to be their big run producer, hitting only 2 homers in 29 games with a .286 average and .740 OPS. His 2009 regular season was also a big step back production-wise. It was his first season under a .300 average, as well as an .800 OPS. He even missed considerable time twice, the first due to a torn pectoral muscle in April, then he hit the injured list again in July after straining his calf. So the Angels allowed him to walk in free agency, an opportunity the Rangers took full advantage of, signing him to a 1-year deal with a team option attached. By signing Vlad, the Rangers were finally allowed to breathe whenever he entered Globe Life Park, because before joining them, he recorded a hit in 44 straight games against them from 2004 to 2006, the longest such player versus team streak in MLB history. Now he would be donning their jersey, and at 32 years old, he was able to enjoy a bounce-back season with 29 homers, 115 runs driven in, and a 119 OPS plus. He even finished 11th in MVP voting, his highest since 2007. He was a force all season long and helped the Rangers make the playoffs for the first time since they were swept by the Yankees all the way back in 1999. At his age, this was looking to be his last chance at a World Series ring, but he didn't rise up to the occasion, struggling massively in the divisional and championship rounds. It was his teammates who were able to step up and bring them to the World Series against the San Francisco Giants. This was poised to be a hard-fought matchup. The Giants hadn't won the World Series since they relocated to the Bay Area, and the Rangers had never made it past the divisional round in their 50-year history. In the end, it was San Francisco who reigned supreme, as they took the series in only 5 games. It was an agonizing finish to Vlad's first World Series appearance, but he wasn't much help throughout October. As mentioned, he struggled in the first 2 rounds and then managed only 1 hit in 16 trips to the plate against the Giants. So despite his career resurgence in the regular season, the club decided not to pick up their option for 2011 and instead fill their DH spot elsewhere, leaving Vlad to free agency for the 2nd straight year, this go-around signing with the Baltimore Orioles. For the O's, they were excited to get Vlad in their organization. After all, they were one of the key teams interested in him when he was a free agent back in 03, but he was no longer the same 29-year-old star outfielder. He was an aging designated hitter, and the 2011 season was the first year it truly started to show. In 145 games, he was worth only .2 WAR, hit his lowest full season home run total, and had career low figures across his entire slash line. Because of this, he didn't receive much buzz during free agency. In fact, he remained teamless at the start of 2012. It wasn't until mid-May before he signed with the Blue Jays on a minor league contract. However, just a month later, he was released, marking the last time he would be involved with an MLB organization. When thinking back to Vlad Guerrero's career, one can't help but think of all the ridiculous swings he put together, yet none come close to his base hit on August 14th, 2009. Up against Chris Tillman, he sent a looper into shallow left field. Just a normal bloop hit, right? Well, when looking on replay, we can see the ball actually bounced before it reached home plate, but with a hit and run on, he decided to pull the trigger and somehow managed to find outfield grass. It was moments like this which encapsulated his career. Between 2007 to 2011, he swung at 43.7% of pitches thrown outside the zone, the highest mark in all of baseball, prompting a funny quote from Justin Verlander reading, "I've heard everything from don't throw strikes because he'll chase pitches outside the zone to throw it right down the middle because that's the one he can't hit. I'm serious." No matter the game plan, pitchers were unable to find his weakness. During his 16-year career, he hit 449 home runs with an average of 318, becoming just the 6th player with career totals that high, which makes it no surprise he was inducted into the Hall of Fame after just his 2nd year on the ballot. The rightful place for the player who seemingly could never swing and miss, even when the pitch looked absolutely unhittable.